Hi everyone, it's Stephanie here and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be using some new release products. This is the new Happy Holidays stamp set from the October release, and I absolutely love the stamp set. 3 of the little pups in the set actually look like my little dog Molly, and I was really excited when I got this because I really love to color my dog images kind of similar to her fur colors. So that's kind of where we're going to start today. I'm going to stamp this out with some hybrid ink so I can use my Copic markers, and I've used my mini Misty to do that stamping. Now I have the image here ready to go, and I've zoomed in so you can kind of see what I'm doing, because I am going to leave all the coloring in so that you can kind of see it from start to finish, just because I do a little bit of blending with some grays and browns to kind of get her coloring. So here's a quick pic on my phone of her. It's kind of hard to see, but this is what she looks like. And I really like to try and keep all of her colors similar to where they are on her body. And she is a mini Dachshund and a mini Min Pin mix. So she kind of has the features of both of those dogs. And I really love to kind of keep her brown, kind of tan color, and then also the really dark colors. So I have found that this color combination works really well to kind of blend together and really recreate the look of her actual fur. So I'm just going to go through and do all of the coloring, and it does take me a little bit of time to color her. I do a lot of the blending, and what I like to do is I like to start with the really lightest color of the brown first and kind of lay out all of the areas on her that's going to have that brown color. And then I like to take my darkest of the grays and kind of lay out where all the grays are going to be. And when I do the darker gray color, I kind of leave a space between where the gray and the brown are going to meet, so that I can use all of my medium tone colors to kind of blend together and kind of pull those darkest and lightest colors together as I'm coloring. So like I mentioned, it does take me a bit of time to do this blending, but I really think it's worth it in the end because it really lets me kind of personalize my cards anytime I'm doing any coloring that kind of has a puppy that looks like her. So I love it. It's, you know, I love to sit in color, so I don't mind at all, and I really just love the overall look when I'm finished. So I did add some color to her nose there, and then I realized I wanted a little bit more color in some of the areas on her, so I did go back in and added more colors. And you can see there one of her ears isn't colored. I didn't even notice, but I will notice when I start to color the rest of the image, so I will add that color in there in a little bit. Now for the rest of her, I'm going to be using some reds to color in her hat, and it's a pretty simple image to color aside from her coloring, just because I decided to make that a little bit more difficult. So it doesn't really take long to color this once you get going. So I used a few shades of red for the hat just to get some shadows and dimension, and then for the little Christmas lights, I'm only using one color for each light. They're very, very tiny, so you don't really need to do much shading. So I just added that single color, and then I also added a little bit of gray to add to the white details on her hat, and I added a little bit of green to the collar around her neck. So once I finished coloring her, I used the coordinating die and die cut her out, so now I have her all ready to go. And I've also pulled some other supplies that I'm going to use to create my card. So I have the striped sentiment strip cover-up die, and I also have a piece of white cardstock cut slightly smaller so I can layer those together. I have a piece of red and white striped paper from the Birthday Blowout paper pad, and I also have a top folding white card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I've decided to use the Happy Holidays sentiment from the stamp set, so I've also pulled that out so I can go ahead and stamp that on there. And the first thing I'm going to do is add adhesive to that cover-up die there that I've die cut from the white, and I'm going to adhere it directly over top of the panel. And this is just a little bit of tone-on-tone texture that I wanted to add to the card. I really love that open space kind of in the middle, and it's going to allow me to have my sentiment, which I've already stamped there. You can see I have it stamped on there. And I just used some black licorice dye ink to do that sentiment stamping. And then I have the little space beside there where I can add the puppy. I added that finished panel to my striped piece there, and of course I got some ink on there because I always tend to do that. So I just used my sand eraser there and rubbed that over the ink, and it quickly and easily took that away, so there was no problem there. I highly recommend this eraser if you have problems where you kind of get ink smudges all over, because you tend to get more ink on your fingers than on the stamps. And then once I had that done, I just added that whole finished panel to my card base, and I'm just going to add the puppy image now with some foam adhesive. So I fully covered the back of that, took all of that backing sheet off, and now I'm just positioning this right beside my sentiment in that open area. And we definitely have a nice, clean, and simple card front. So I decided to do a little bit of sentiment stamping and a little bit of decoration on the inside of the card. I don't usually think to do this, but I really like the overall look when I think to add a little bit more to the inside. So what I did is I took one of the little Christmas lights from the stamp set, and I did this off camera because it did take a little bit of time because it's one stamp and I had to stamp, color, and die cut all of these. But I just stamped a bunch of these, used the same colors that I had used for the little light bulbs on the actual stamped image, and I colored all these in and then die cut them. And what I'm doing on the inside is I'm just using a black marker and I'm drawing a line and adding the lights in to look like a string of lights on the inside of the card. And I kept kind of adding more and more. I wasn't happy with what I had done, so I ended up making an entire string from the top area of the card right to the right side there, and I was really happy with it when I was finished. To add a little bit more detail and dimension to the card front, I added some of the jewels from Lucy's Little Things. These are the shimmering pool mix, and I just added a nice scattering of those to kind of go with the Christmas lights on the dog image. And then I'm going to add a little bit of glitter to each of the light bulbs. So I'm using my Clear Wink of Stella and just coloring over each of these little light bulbs. And then I'm going to follow that up with my Nuvo Crystal Glaze. And this is just almost like a glossy accents. It's just a clear liquid that you can put over top. And you can see there now I have all those light bulbs and they have that shiny coat on them. I also used a black gel pen and added some detail to the puppy's eyes and nose just to kind of give them a little bit more of a realistic look. And then that is going to finish our card. So we have a fun Christmas scene both on the inside and outside of our card. And I personalized it to look like my own puppy. So that's a lot of fun to do if you really like to do coloring and like to personalize what you're creating. So thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you would like a chance to win a gift card to the MFT online store, please leave a comment on this video and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and I will announce the winner in next week's episode of MFTv. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate you being here, and I will see you in the next video.